If you want to improve your finances in 2024, you've come to the right place, because today, Josh and myself, Marissa from Rise High Financial Solutions, we're going to share with you the top 6 ways that you can improve your finances in 2024 and make 2024 the best year that you've had in not only your finances, but every area of your life. Because as we know, Josh, your finances and how you feel and how much you're in control of your finances has such a big impact on so many areas of your life. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I've asked Josh to join me today, one of the amazing mortgage brokers and finance advisors at Rise High, who's also gone through his own journey of building his own financial well-being as well.
Yep, absolutely. So
you got some tips to share with us today, Josh?
Yes, absolutely. So probably the first one, just sort of improving your financial literacy. So starting just with educating yourself, whether that's coming in for a meeting with one of the brokers here at Rise High, or with the internet now, you can jump online. We have a very useful YouTube channel, blogs, and just educating yourself, familiarising yourself with the terms and then what things mean. But if you're unsure, first step, come have a meeting with us.
And financial literacy is so important. People don't get taught money skills at school, and most people don't even learn them from their parents. So it is actually, most people have to take the initiative to build financial literacy and money management skills themselves. Like Josh said, at Rise High, we provide free financial literacy seminars, whether it be for first home buyers or property investors. If you're wanting to learn any aspect of money, we've pretty much got a seminar on it. We also have an extensive YouTube channel called Rise High TV with hundreds of videos for every different type of, depending on what stage you're at and what you're looking for. So it's really about knowing what it is that you need to learn and what it is that you want to do, what your goals are, and empowering yourself with knowledge and education that's going to help you to take that next step and go from where you are now to where you want to be.
Yep, absolutely.
How much has financial literacy helped the people that you've served, Josh?
Yeah, it helps a lot, just by sort of understanding, so we can have the same level of conversations, and we want to make sure that, when you're going into whether it's a home loan or any sort of debt, that you actually understand what you're getting yourself into, but also the benefits of what you're doing as well.
Yeah. And if you do have a greater sense of financial literacy, you can actually expand your opportunities in the future. Going from, you might be looking to buy your first home or even just to do a bit of saving, but maybe you can think about investing for the future, which can help set you up long term as well.
Yeah, definitely. That's something that we will recommend and try to lead our clients on that path for sure.
So tip number 1 for 2024, improve your financial literacy. What's tip number 2 for 2024, Josh?
So tip number 2 is working on your budget. So that probably starts.
That can sometimes be a bit of a dirty word,
yes,
budget.
Yes.
We're going to try and make it not so much of a dirty word.
Yeah. So that just, first step of that is determining what are your needs and what are your wants. So I think these days it's sort of very easy to do that more discretionary spending on the wants rather than focusing on the needs.
Yes.
And that comes down to understanding what your income is, whether that's weekly, fortnightly, monthly, and then what your needs or your expenditures are along with that.
Absolutely. And I think that, obviously cost of living has risen. And that's going to be a continuing trend through 2024. So people do need to have a good understanding of money in, money out. Like you said, needs versus wants. The reality is most Australians don't actually know what they're spending.
No.
And they don't know where their money's going or what they're actually, what's happening to their money. So actually, people think that budgets and budgeting is quite restrictive. I actually believe that it's quite empowering. If you actually have knowledge and an understanding of where your money is being spent, it actually empowers you to make sure that you're spending it on the things that give you joy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like, sort of the Marie Kondo version of money, where you actually are only spending money on things that are actually enhancing your life and giving you joy, rather than spending money on things that aren't really making a positive difference. So, and all of the needs obviously fall in that category, because life without electricity and a home would be pretty tough. But yeah, so I think, having a bit of a clean out of your budget and your income and expenses, if someone's feeling really overwhelmed of how to even start with this, what are some of the tools that you can use, or how can we at Rise High help people to go through this process of understanding what they're spending and in what category they're spending it in?
Yeah. So probably the easiest way is, send us through your bank statements, and then we can meet together and go through each sort of category of spending, work out, okay, these are your fixed costs, these are your need costs, and then, okay, your discretionary expenses as well. Can we cut these back? Can we look to sort of cut back in a few different areas? So that's probably the first step, and we run that through with you, and then set you on the path moving forward.
And is that a free service?
Yeah, absolutely free. So no cost involved there at all.
Yeah, and how empowering do you find that is for people when they actually get an understanding of where it is their money's going?
Yeah, it's great, and meeting with clients and run through their expenses. Sometimes they didn't even realise that they had a Netflix coming out or a Disney Plus, and it just helps people understand where their money is going.
Yeah, I think the other thing in this point about budgeting is actually once you identify where your money's going, you can actually identify what things you can cut back on, like the examples that you've just given, but also the things that you can actually reduce the expense of. So things like insurance are a necessity, and for most people insurance is a need.
Yep.
But if you haven't reviewed your insurance for a while, or you haven't reviewed your utilities, your electricity, your gas for a while, and shopped around for different options, you could actually be saving a huge amount of money and still getting the same benefit. Similarly with your mortgage and your loans, if you haven't had a mortgage broker like us who's been fighting for discounts every year or repricing the loan with the bank regularly, you're probably paying too much. So when it comes back to making sure that your money is going to things that bring you joy, it's basically making sure that you're not spending paying too much for something that is not actually benefiting you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
so that is work on your budgeting. Great tip for 2024.
Definitely.
Let's talk about tip number 3 for 2024. What do you have for us, Josh?
Yeah, so tip number 3 is just paying yourself first. So that's more so about, trying to have a set, whether it's a set percentage or a set amount of each pay that you're putting away for yourself, whether that's an emergency fund or a savings towards a house or a holiday. I think that's really important, and trying to minimise or not draw on those funds at all. That's probably one really important part of that.
Paying yourself first. This is my favourite tip.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of pay yourself first philosophy, and I think the Australian way is we pay our mortgage, we pay our bills, and then whatever's left over we save. The problem is there's not often things left over. So I think for me, paying yourself first is about having a commitment to yourself that you're going to prioritise your family, your future, and make sure that you're actually putting as much weight on paying yourself first as what you would place on paying your mortgage. So setting aside a certain dollar amount or a certain percentage of your income to say, well, I'm going to set aside 5% of my income every week, every fortnight, every month to an emergency fund or to a savings fund for the future. And having that getting into that routine and creating that habit has tremendous impact, positive impact on your financial well-being long term.
Yeah, definitely.
It really is a game changer. So
Definitely.
I actually find with this paying yourself first that once you've actually set the discipline and decided this is what I'm going to do in terms of paying yourself first, I think what people find most effective is to make it automatic.
Yeah, definitely.
Because if you've got to do it manually, it gets easy to sort of
forget and slip.
Slip. So there's so many ways you can make it automatic. You can go to your employer and you can actually ask them to pay a portion of your pay into a separate account. If you're self-employed, you can coordinate that as well. So when you get money in, you can distribute X percentage out to a different account as an automatic, or X dollar amount as a different, to a different account as automatic. And I think making it automatic does have a big impact.
Yep, massive. And then it all sort of ties back into the budgeting as well. So if you're setting aside a particular amount or percentage that you're putting away, that then makes it easier to recognise, okay, now I don't need to go out and spend this money on X because I'm saving it. So it can kind of tie in pretty well into your budgeting as well.
So when people are going through their income and expenses with you and you're going through that budgeting process, if they're interested in the pay yourself first philosophy and working out what percentage they can set aside, is that something that you can help them with?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we can run through sort of not only the budgeting and paying yourself first, but all of these tips, that's essentially what our meetings are for, to set yourself up better moving forward financially.
Yeah, and it's great. I mean, this might, seem unrealistic right now, but it's great to aim for having an emergency fund there that is going to cover you for at least 3 months of living expenses, so that if something did happen to yourself or your spouse or your family, immediately and it did have an impact on your income or your income levels or your expenses, you've actually got some playroom there. You've got 3 months worth of living expenses saved up, and saving for the future and investing for the future is just going to be a great thing for you to do to have really good options moving forward into the future. So paying yourself first, very important, isn't it, Josh?
Yes, tip number 3, pay yourself first.
Just going to do some shout outs at this stage. Huge shout out to Riley, Emily, Iris, Bradley, Adri, Marco, Susan, Shirley, Kristen. Thanks so much for joining us, guys. We'd love to hear your comments. Maybe you've got some tips that you want to share with us, things that have worked well for you. Maybe you've got some questions that you want to share with us. We're answering questions live today. So please post them on the comments in the Facebook video and we will be answering them live. Let's get on to tip number 4 now. So tip number 4 for 2024, what can people do?
Yep, so tip number 4 is just evaluating getting into home ownership. So that might be for a lot of people their first home, but it could also be, okay, I have my home, I'm set up, I've got equity or I've got savings, now I want to look at property in investing. So it's just about setting yourself up to get in that property.
Yeah, or maybe upgrading, maybe your family situations change. So definitely everyone that has lived in Australia over the last couple of years would have seen what property's done over the last couple of years. And, maybe there's some people watching this video that might think getting into property or buying their dream home or upgrading is an unrealistic goal. Interest rates have gone up. But there's still opportunities out there for people, isn't there, Josh?
Definitely.
How can people, if people do have the goal of buying their first home or upgrading to a new home, what can they do to start that process?
Well, again, come and see us. Get a meeting booked in, and then we can run through. Okay, what are your goals right now? What are you hoping to do? How do we get you there? And if you're not there right now, what do you have to do moving forward to get you to that goal? As we sort of touched on previously, these meetings that we have are very important, but also very useful for you as the client, and it's just about setting yourself up moving forward.
And I love that, because I love what you said about, if you're not in a position to do it now, it's about making a plan for how you can get into the position to do what you want to do. So it's about making sure that there's always hope and you're always moving forward in the right direction. So it's really great to have that plan and to be empowered to know that everything you're doing is, going to help you for that future. So tip number 4 was evaluate getting into home ownership and get some support with your journey into home ownership and home expansion, I would say. What is tip number 5 for 2024, Josh?
So tip number 5, it kind of ties into tip number 4, but it's just sort of planning to grow your wealth through those investments. In this case, more focusing on the investment properties, and just understanding that it's a relatively low risk sort of strategy, and the longer that you're in it, the greater benefits that you do get from property investing.
Absolutely, and it's never ever too early to start thinking about investing. In fact, the earlier you start, the better off you'll be.
Yeah, definitely.
And the more choices you'll have long term. Come along to our property investment seminars. Get onto our YouTube page, Rise High TV, and watch the property investment videos. Learn about property investment. Read the Rise High Investor. There's so many property investment resources out there to help you to learn how to do low risk property investment, and how can you and the team here help with property investment journeys?
Yeah, well, again, it starts with either attending a seminar, but again goes back to those meetings, working out, okay, do you want to purchase a property for X amount or Y amount? how do we get you there? What do you have to do to get this new property? And it might be trying to pay off some other debts or save up more, try to maximise your borrowing capacity. There's a few ways to get there for sure.
And actually growing an investment portfolio can actually be a way to pay down your home loan debt faster as well. People think that they need to pay their home down before they can start investing, but it's so not true. So it is good to start thinking about it, and the earlier the better. Like Josh said, it's about the benefit of time. So the more time you're in the market as an investor, the better off you'll be and the more options you'll have.
For sure.
So make 2024 will be the year that you'll grow your investment portfolio and start becoming a property investor, or grow it to a point where it's really going to make a significant difference for your family. So, final tip number 6 for 2024. What is it, Josh?
So tip number 6 is minimising your debt, and probably starts with paying off the easiest or the smallest debts first, and then that can just have a bit of a snowball effect. You go, okay, that was easier than I thought it would be. Now on to the next one. In an ideal world, you wouldn't have any of these sort of bad debts. Like your credit cards, Afterpay, all the rest. Sometimes they're a necessity, but the more you're able to pay them off, the easier it becomes moving forward.
Absolutely, and debt can be quite overwhelming, especially as it starts to build up, and there's lots of different forms of debt. But with what the debts are and how to pay them down is a really good advantage. So is that something that you can help people with as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And it might be trying to put some of your pay towards paying the debt off, or we can look at some sort of debt consolidation where we sort of put them into one, so that way you only have to focus on one repayment
and much cheaper interest
rates, and it just makes it easier for you to manage moving forward. Rather than having to worry about 4 or 5 different repayments, you can focus on 1 or 2. Just tidy things up for you.
And I love your idea of the snowball strategy with starting with one debt, getting it down, because there's a real satisfaction and achievement that comes out of getting that covered off as well. So I think that's a great thing. Maybe 2024 is the year that you're going to get yourself out of debt. Maybe 2024 is the year that you're going to have a debt management plan. And not many people have a debt management plan, but once again, I think it's so empowering to have a plan, to know how you're going to tackle these things. Then the debt is less scary.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you know what you're going to do with it, how you're going to manage it, and it's a realistic goal to work towards, it's much more manageable. So tip number 6 for 2024, minimise your debt, get a debt management plan. So this has been super helpful, Josh. I reckon there's a lot of great tips here, a lot of golden nuggets, and we can help people in any of these areas, can't we? So let's just have a recap of the 6 areas that you can really work on to improve your finances in 2024. Run us through them again, Josh.
So number 1, we got improve your financial literacy. Tip 2, we got work on your budgeting. Tip 3 was pay yourself first.
Love that one.
Tip 4, evaluate getting into home ownership. Tip 5, plan to grow your wealth through investments. And tip 6, as we just touched on, minimise your debt.
Now, we want more than anything for 2024 to be the best year of your life financially, and then hopefully that drives great outcomes in every other area of your life. So if you want help in any of these areas, please come and speak to our team. Our service is fee-free. We would love to help make 2024 the best year of your financial life. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll speak to you again next time. Bye.
See ya.